Tonight, we're going to have Nate Broady in, a lawyer from New York, content creator. Go subscribe to him. His channel is just blasting through the subscriber milestones, over 5,000 now. We're going to get Nate in, and we're just going to talk about everything going on this week. A couple of things I brought up on the Rock a lot. Little things most of you may not know about if you don't follow the longer live streams in a more condensed form over here on UNIRock 2. So thanks for coming. Thanks for chilling with us. Let's go ahead and get this started because things are kind of weird out there. I'm not even going to lie. It's a lot weirder than I thought it would be after all this stuff went down. And the aftermath of it kind of is different than any other story we've covered or any other community that we've kind of talked about. Either way, one other thing, if you don't mind, share this out to Twitter for me because my Twitter account will be up this weekend. I'm going to enable it this weekend, but as of right now, I can't share to Twitter and let the peeps know that we're live. So if you can help me out, I'd much appreciate you. Either way, short intro, and then me and Nate Broady on this week's developments in the YouTube community. I don't know what the else to call it. Anyway, let's go. All right, Nate, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it. How you been?
I've been good, bro. I've been good. How you doing, man?
Awesome. This week has been nuts. Oh, hold on. Let me go to the other room because that way I have... There we go. I've got your channel up there. Okay. It's been cool, man. Like this whole thing about the restraining order, I figured we'd talk about that for a little bit and then some of the responses in the community from... Some would say troll accounts, but who knows? But there's another developing story, Lillee Jean, who I've talked about once or twice, and I don't think you have yet, but everybody talks about Lillee Jean buying subscribers, buying followers, and she's now getting sued. So it kind of makes sense to talk about that, but your channel just hit 5,000. Congratulations, man.
Hey, thanks, man. It's finally starting to happen a little bit, but I'm trying to put out some nice, at least content that makes people happy, So it looks like Steve helps me, in ways that by him being such a dirtbag, it helps me, get more inside.
Yeah, man, like you make great content on all the stuff you cover and people are just desperate for good content right now. It's awesome. We've got new creators. We've got creators who've been here a while and YouTube is popping back up. It's starting to get that wave of people in again this summer. So big things are coming. So, okay, you went over the restraining order. Literally, you pulled the paper. Everybody was amazed. What did you think after looking at it? Like, what are your thoughts now?
Well, it's funny because usually a restraining order is an extraordinary step for a couple of reasons. Number one, the judge is only hearing from one party, right? It's only hearing from one side. So it's not like you're hearing from both sides to get context. You're hearing from one side. So the standard's a little bit higher. You have to show a little bit more expedience to get this thing granted. It's not like you can just walk in there and just say anything. You know what I mean? You have to have a compelling case. So because the judge is actually going to restrain someone without hearing from that side. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. And I'll hit the super chats in a minute, but I want to handle this one first. I need to tag somebody in Discord really quick. But no, great point. I thought the same thing about, it seems it's extreme. It seems like it was expedited. It was extreme, ordered immediately. Hold on, though. I got to tag somebody. So if I can I get Stuart or Christina, I'm sorry, Navy will have it. And Navy was here. Yeah, he's always here tonight. Okay. I need the email from MDD sent to Red's Rhetoric. Please, where he denied me the debate and the video clip from Road User in current live stream room. Let's handle that super chat. Super chat? Give me just a minute and I'll handle you. No, you're right. These are extreme measures and the judge literally just completely pushed it through. In my opinion, it was the clips of David Silverman and the other clip of Steve doing that same kind of thing, mocking her. Do you think that okay, let me ask you this, because this is huge in my mind. If Silverman wouldn't have literally said, I'm going to SH her right now, and then had that clip, do you think if those two clips weren't in that whole mess, do you think that she still would have got the restraining order, or what do you think about that?
I don't know, because a lot of times when you're dealing with these type of harassment orders and these restraining orders, it's about a pattern of harassment. Sometimes you can have one event that can just be so extreme where the judge will be like, all right, we got to put you in, we got to restrain you from being around this person. That's usually if it turns to like a criminal charge. If you go and assault the person, then they're going to be like, well, that's one event, but we're going to restrain you from being close to the person. But here we have a pattern of conduct over many months. This started in I think last year, September or something like that. And then you have this constant videos and the Sun and this, and then the troll accounts and this. So, when you get this pattern of harassment, it becomes easier when you do go to a judge, you do go to a court and say, hey, this person has been constantly harassing me, and here's their pattern. And if you have months and months of stuff, it's going to be a lot easier to get the order than if it's just one or two isolated incidents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all of us kind of were a little bit shocked of how long it all went on, and if Katie could do anything. I've been kind of looking around saying that this might be a YouTube first or a precedent. I mean, I know that people that are physically close to each other that have YouTube channels, like girlfriends and boyfriends, they've gotten wives and husbands, they've gotten restraining orders before. No big deal. It's normal, kind of. But when it comes to somebody who never met somebody in real life, who just made a bunch of YouTube content about somebody getting a restraining order, it's almost like 2020's turning into a alternate dimension reality shift here. It's just crazy. It's crazy town.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's the new world that we live in, because in this thing between Steve and KJ, I think the key point to this was enough was enough. You know what I'm saying? And he just went too far. Everyone, even his friends, everybody's telling him, you're going too far. You're making too many videos. The Sherelle's world, this. And when in the environment that we're in now, especially when it comes to internet harassment and online harassment and things of that nature, people are more sensitive to it, And I think, Steve I think he got too caught up in thinking that he's right, instead of understanding that harassment is a fine line. And he crossed that line, unfortunately. At least this judge thinks he crossed that line, enough to be restrained.
Yeah. A lot of people are a little worried that even though I don't like Steve, I don't really want to see him in jail. I'd rather just see him, honestly, just criticize Katie in a normal YouTube video on a topical thing that recently happened, or a new thing that he found, and then move on, and then maybe criticize her again if he wanted to. Then none of us could have complained. That's one thing that's out in the community, is that, now anybody that criticizes somebody can get a restraining order. And it's no, they can't. And that's why they haven't. It's that level of the secret troll groups combined with the threats that happen. Now, you actually showed on the screen the papers, and the craziest thing was in the papers. It was this little check mark next to sent harassing text messages and or made harassing phone calls. What was that about? What do you think that part was about? Because that kind of surprised me.
I'm not sure, because usually in these orders, the actual evidence of the harassing conduct is sealed, unless the court allows it to be, because sometimes that evidence is private. The person came to my house, or the person did something. So usually that evidence is sealed, but they give you the appendix to show you, what they are, just in the general category. So I'm not sure. You could, because don't forget, the harassment doesn't have to be done by Steve. It can be done on his behalf. So it can be indirectly. You know what I'm saying? So he can say, people should contact Katie and let her know, blah, 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 or, call this number. And then that order for action is part of the campaign of harassment, because I think that's the theory. It looks like KJ and her lawyer put together was this campaign of harassment, and Steve was the captain of this campaign. Look at the troll group, look at this, look at that. So if you hit the top guy, then all the harassment's going to stop, because he's the person who's leading the charge.
Okay, so with your opinion, and this is your opinion, it's not legal advice or anything like that. people on YouTube don't have to worry if they criticize a channel about getting a restraining order, correct? Like, they don't have to be scared like some of these troll accounts say it needs to happen, right? Or is happening. Okay.
No, absolutely. Listen, well, again, this is not legal advice, but there's a difference between me criticizing someone's content that they put out versus me harassing them. You know, if I put out a legal video, and someone goes through that video and says, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because X actually is Y and Z is actually B and so forth and so forth. That is not harassment. You know, even if they do that every time I put out a video, because I'm putting out videos, I'm putting out my thoughts so people can to spark conversation. But I think if someone then was to call my house and to call my kids' schools and to dox my family and things, now we're talking about a different level of engagement, not just, you know, something I'm exposing myself to by being on YouTube. When we're now talking about somebody going outside of that arena and now trying to make it personal, you know, get called whenever somebody's doxing you and calling your house and your employment, they're harassing you. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. Okay, so now we're in the aftermath here of the things completely changed, and honestly, it's a little weird. We've got these weird accounts running around saying things. I actually have an image of one. Let me go ahead and pull up my other tab here. So we've got accounts going around saying things like, hey, Bullinator, Steve doesn't have to worry about the RO. He does not live in her state. And we had somebody else say that the defense menace to sobriety tweeted that the Steve Defense Campaign group out there said that the VAWA has expired and therefore the law doesn't apply to Steve. That's probably really bad advice for Steve, right? Or what do you think about that narrative, right?
Well, just again, just to make sure, of course, this is not legal advice. If you're looking at this stream for legal advice, you have a problem already. Yeah. This is not legal advice. But from my understanding of it, now this is not my practice area, so again, this is, you know, treat this as a layman's opinion. Yeah. But from my understanding, we used to do these things when I was at the DA's office all the time. Every time you had a victim of a crime, there was automatically a protection order against the defendant, so they wouldn't bother the Vic. But I think in this case, generally, there were two questions. The first question is really about jurisdiction, and Steve lives, I believe, in California, and Katie lives in Minnesota. So we have these two separate states that we're talking about, and they're both named on the order. What happens is generally you can't sue someone from outer state in your state unless they've been to that state. So for instance, if someone in Alaska wants to sue me for something they think I did wrong, they can't do that in Alaska because I've never been to Alaska. I've never touched Alaskan soil. Alaskan judges don't have any jurisdiction over me. But when it comes to these type of harassment claims, since we're talking about online stalking and things of that nature, the law is a little different. And the way it works is that if you can provide enough evidence to your local court, and again, I'm skipping a lot of details just to make this simple. But if you can provide enough details, enough evidence to your local court to say you are being harassed by this person who lives in the United States, that court then can write.
Uh-oh.
That restraining order. Can you hear me?
You just came back. You only were out for 3 seconds, so the court can then write, and go ahead.
Yeah, that court can then issue this restraining order. Okay. That restraining order then is effective within the state of Minnesota. But then what happens is the federal law of the Violence Against Women's Act kicks in. Now, the Violence Against Women's Act has a couple of provisions. One provision is about appropriations of funds, right? So the Congress gets together every couple of years and reauthorizes it. We're going to spend, instead of this year, we're going to spend $5 billion. We're going to do 20 billion, or we're going to do less. We're going to do 15 billion. So that's the part that has to always be reauthorized. Right now, those grants haven't been reauthorized. But the second part of the bill, the other provisions, don't need to be reauthorized. They're in law. They would have to be overturned. And one of those provisions is the full faith and credit provision. So under federal law, if any state issues a court order The full faith and credit clause says that all other states must treat that order as, must give it full faith and credit. They must treat that order as if it was, from their state. They must give it full faith and credit. So under the Violence Against Women's Act, it's a federal statute that says if any state issues one of these orders of protection, then all other states must enforce it. So the order of protection that's the restraining order, I keep saying order of protection, but they're virtually the same. The restraining order that KJ has now under the Violence Against Women's Act, that law allows California to now enforce that order in California.
Oh, okay.
That's why you probably see Steve not saying anything or being any active or even mentioning Katie's name, because I'm assuming his legal counsel probably, mentioned to him that, hey, this can be enforced on you in California. So if you continue your pattern of harassment, you could be arrested in California where this would be enforced. And if it becomes criminal, you could actually have a scenario where in violation of the order, they have to send you back to Minnesota to be in front of this judge who initially did this order. So it could get complicated. But as of right now, Steve is not safe from being in another state. The law has got him, and you guys can look this up on you just Google it. Violence Against Women's Act Order Protections. This was actually written into the law because violators, like you had a lot of men who would cross state lines, harass people online, that type of thing. And Joe Biden was the one that actually wrote this law. No. And it's interesting because this law was made to be able to reach that type of harassment. So this is right in the wheelhouse of the law. And it's one of the more interesting cases of it, and people should Google it, is David Letterman actually had one of these put against him from a woman. And this was back in 2005, I believe, when this was before they refined the law, because it was real loosey-goosey back then. So we had a woman in, I think, New Mexico, who got a temporary restraining order against David Letterman because he found his show to be too good or something like that, where it kept her up late at night. So she literally got a restraining order against David Letterman, and that's when they had to rechange the law and said, this is ridiculous. We can't let just anybody get restraining orders. So obviously they had to make it a little tougher. But yeah, there's an actual case out there where David Letterman got a restraining order from a woman in I believe it's New Mexico. It was a hilarious case.
That's pretty funny, yeah, because that was that whole narrative going on at the beginning, and it was kind of. I won't say who was putting it out, but people close to certain others that are in this story were putting it out, and then they were spamming it around. So quickly, Menace to Sobriety pulled this and underlined it from the Justice Department, February 19th of 2020, and I'm going to read the underlined portion. It's only a sentence. VAWA contains no sunset provision and does not expire. Expiration of the appropriations authorizations in the VAWA pertains to the grant programs alone, not to the other legal improvements. And it's one of those things you could say is the internet is changing how crimes happen, and therefore they have to amend the law or fix it and add things to it and change it to keep up. So this is a good thing. Why can't a state, especially if the internet's going to connect two people together over the border, do something to protect someone if the judge finds it? I mean, it should be there. I don't get how anyone could argue it. It's a bad look to argue this, I think, right?
Well, I think everybody's trying to look for that exception. Yeah. Because it's oh my God, Steve has got this legal issue, but it's a very simple issue. You have this man from California who's been harassing this woman for months on end, since for about 6-7 months, and think about it. For the past, actually, it's almost been a year, right? It's almost been a year for harassment.
It's a year anniversary was when this thing went through. A year since June when the whole thing started. So it's kind of ironic.
Exactly. So think about what this woman's gone through for a year. All the video, all the clips, David Silverman. Eventually a judge looked at it and said, "This is enough. This guy has to be stopped now. He has to be stopped now."
You definitely. You've interacted with Steve for a long time because you used to debate and discuss and stuff with him about atheism and about religion, and you've known him way longer than I have and most other people. And I mean, it's hard to word it, but did you ever think this could I don't think anybody thought it could happen. I never thought he would attack somebody in the way he is. I know you tried to warn people, and I didn't listen to you in the beginning, and and other people did too. And it's like, one thing is, you guys have been vindicated. You were trying to tell people like this something's wrong, like massively wrong, and it's going to get bad. So that the warnings you guys were given for all that time are vindicated. I think that's one thing that he's probably really angry about. He wanted everyone to think you guys were trolls, but without even anyone putting a lot of attention to the fact that you guys now, it makes sense. Everything adds up at this point. And what is it that made him go this far when he could have just sat there and did a show? I think that's what everybody's asking themselves. What do you think? You've known him for 5 years or 4 years, or you like interacted with him. What happened? What happened, Nate?
You know what? I from when I first met Steve wanted to kind of create this conglomerate, the great debate community. And he wanted to be the administrator of it, but he kind of wanted to kind of force the conversation. At least that's the way he portrayed it to be. But at a point, it stopped becoming about us connecting as a community. And because we were already doing that. It was just now us putting a brand to it and putting a name to it and just kind of having it a little bit more organized. And Steve, I think, saw an advantage to that. And the advantage was, let me be able to use this to my own advantage. It's not going to be altruistic. It's going to be me using this for my own ends. So, like, for instance, he made a channel monetize the great debate community, and he was the only one getting the funds. Yeah. And everything linked to his PayPal and his thing. And then people started questioning it. How come everything is going to you? How come you? And at one point, Steve forgot that the main thing about this philosophical community that we're in is that we never assumed anyone was correct. We always challenged each other. And that was the way we grew. And Steve was afraid to be wrong, because he felt that if he was wrong about this one thing, it's almost like we call it the imposter syndrome. He doesn't have any formalized education. He's not really, someone who, if he walks outside his door with a cup of coffee, people may be throwing change in his cup, that type of thing. But online, he's a hero. So his whole persona is about being right, and anything wrong with it changes the game. It makes him feel like a fraud. And like I've told people many times, if I'm wrong and someone says I'm wrong, it's not going to change. I still have my degrees. I still have all my shit. If Steve is wrong, I think he feels that he loses it all because he has nothing else to stand on.
Ah, man. It's weird because I met him after making a video about the non-sec breakup, which was, I so messed that video up. I didn't put enough work into it, but I had such a hard judgment made, and I was such an idiot on it. And I'm glad this happened, and I think that kind of shows, when we are wrong about something, the thing is, YouTubers will change their mind. Everybody changes their mind all the damn time. And one thing that really set off a red flag for me was the very first time I would bring up things like, hey, you're kind of harassing her if you do this that many times over and over nonstop, or hey, people at least are going to look at it like you are. And anything that I brought up that was even slightly trying to criticize was immediately met with like this. It was like a snap of a head, like, you don't do that here. Like, what are you thinking? And I've never experienced that. I've always avoided groups of people that are led by like a dictator and all that and a bully and shit. So this has been a really weird, strange scenario. I'm working on a sum up video, but it's harder than I thought it'd be. But, I definitely feel like I should have listened to you guys so much sooner. I'm just glad that, we're here talking to me now and we're breaking this stuff down. Go ahead, man.
No, man, but you did. You know what the difference is that you didn't know me. You knew Steve. You trusted Steve. Hell, when I was in your position, I knew Steve. I trusted Steve. And I think that happens with everybody, and that happens with any good cult leader. With any good cult leader, it's first you build trust. And then that's what he did. He built trust. He seems altruistic. Let me help you. Let's help each other. I want to do for you. You don't have to do anything for me. And then it turned. Then it turned to isolation. Well, you shouldn't hang out with that person. That person's a troll. This person's a bad person. You can talk to them, but if you really do, I'm telling you, they're no good. They're a troll. They're this. Because they understand. And then at a point, when you, and then you have to get to they have to get you to the point where now you can't question them at all. And that's what happened to you. I knew, and it's funny because Dragnot said it too. He said that eventually you were going to have a falling out with Steve because you're the type of person who's going to ask a question. And you're eventually going to ask the wrong question. And you asked the wrong question, and now you see we're in the same position because you asked the wrong question. And that question was, why are we doing this to Katie Joy? And that's the question that turned it around for you.
It was also petty in the beginning. I don't know why, some people are really good at bumping into you and then trying their best to always ask for something that benefits them greatly, right? I meet people on the internet all the time, and they'll want to talk to me about something, get advice on OBS, have me help them with an edit or something, or get my opinion, right? And that's normal. That's what happens in every creator I meet that we get along with and everything. And I still talk to so many that were like that. And the red flags here were that every single thing he approached me for after the first time I talked to him was something that he would gain from massively. There was never any little thing that didn't equate to, hey, you're going to be on my channel, or hey, I need you to get a bunch of people to do this or something. Everything was just, he gains a lot, and I should have known that back then. But once I cared enough to actually look at the situation, I immediately was like, okay, yeah, there's something really wrong here. I had a few people in my group, though, that chill with me, and we were talking, and they were always saying, like, I was wrong, and this is going to blow up, and you just wait. But those are the things that happen on the internet that it's like, I tried everything in my power so that it wouldn't happen, and there were too many things that were in his purview. Like he had to make the decision, and he made the wrong one there. And hold on, before we talk about anything else, there's another YouTuber who was like really big and making like $40,000 a month on YouTube. His name was Owen Benjamin, and he got banned a few months ago. And I just checked on him, and he is like straight cult leader right now. Like there's no doubt about him being a straight cult leader. And there's so many parallels between, like, I've just found like 4 different YouTube cults in the last 2 weeks. And yeah, Steve's group being one of them. It'll be some good content once I get it all together. But yeah, there's a lot of cults out there.
It's the Onision. It's this. It's that. And it's wild because like there are a lot of people who get out of the Steve cult who when they get out, the first thing they'll ask is like, how could I believe this? Like there was somebody I was speaking to earlier today about this, someone who got out the cult, and they were like, now when they look back, they were a victim rights advocate. And they were believing Steve when it came to Earl David Warden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were like, how could I, as someone who's an advocate for victims of sexual assault, how could this guy have me defending a serial rapist? And I think a lot of times when you're in the situation, you're so trusting of the person. You're saying, this is not the person I know isn't going to say, a convicted rapist is innocent. It's not going to do that. He has good reasons for saying this. Like they're saying, Cheshire probably has good reasons for saying that children should be aborted at 3 years old. These are smart people. They're about critical thinking. There's more to it. They start, making those self actualizations and then giving those excuses for their content. I know Steve has there's some purpose to this. There's an end goal to this. There's something I am not seeing. But then when you step out, you can see it was always the same thing. He was always like that. It's just that you were just blinded to see it because you believed him. You didn't believe the evidence. You believed him. And that's all. That's one of the. Anybody who watches my stuff, that's the first thing I say. Don't believe me. Believe the facts and evidence.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I knew, right? The thing that people don't do is challenge the lies because they're so petty. Like the thing about Warden, the only reason that I even had like any modicum of like, okay, like this is on him, and I started to step back was because he lied about, what was it, saying that he didn't defend Warden and he didn't attack the victims, and he's like, oh, I didn't do that, and everybody's like, okay, well, obviously somebody on the internet isn't going to say they didn't do that if there's a lot of evidence that they did that. Lo and behold, you pull a video up that has all these comments he made, all these clips of him literally defending Warden and dismissing the victims. And I'm like, this dude lied to me. And then it's just a floodgate. That's the thing people realize if they do interact with him. I will give I'll give credit to the people who get out, but while they're there, literally they're there because he's pushing it. He's pushing it on them. He desires so much from his audience too. Like I got this audience, and some of them check in like a couple times a month, and I'm happy about that. And this dude like wants your complete devotion. But yeah, you're right. And when you put out those videos, though, it rocked everybody's head because they literally could see then like, wait, that's the opposite of what he told me. And some people don't understand why people talk about this. When you have a lolcow that massive, he's going to literally say Warden is an honorable man would literally say that to the audience, but then go to a YouTuber who hasn't seen the clip and say, I never said that. It's pretty extreme. Most people don't do that. They just never assume a YouTuber will do that. It's just too much. You could wind up in this situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because you know what? If you watch my takedown videos of Steve, what I always do is I play his words in context, let you hear them, and then like I always like to let him explain it, but I'll let you, but you need to hear it because that's the key. The key is I've never said this, but I said it. I didn't do this, but he did. I didn't do, so we have video evidence. We have the issue that I think started coming up with the Warden thing was that people were doing videos about Warden for a while, about Steve and Warden, but what they were doing, they kept telling people what Steve was saying, and Steve would just say, I didn't say that. Yeah. But it's different when I just put the clip of him saying it, then it's like, oh no, he did say this. And that's when people start having to confront the reality of who am I following? Because this person is saying he's saying it, and then when you go to listen to the excuse, well, Steve, when you said this, what did you mean? His excuses are bullshit too. And most people can see it at that point.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to. Unless you're crazy, you have to concede at that point because you have direct, literal, like, the thing is, there's so much, and I do it too. It's why I do it on a different, like, I either have an after show, like on D Live or Periscope, or else I do it on a different YouTube channel because it's almost like the after show content that I do, like the extra content, that's his main stuff. So there's so much, there's going to be these clips that mean the world to the story, but they're hidden in these hours of video. And it's so amazing. The non sequitur situation gave him a bunch of people that will just, because they feel sorry, would check in on his stream, leave a little supportive thing, and then pop out. So then, let's say 2 days later, when a YouTuber stands up and says, you did do this, you did defend Warden, literally defended him, no one knows, and they just go, like, again, believe it. So yeah, you hit it with a home run on that video. It woke everybody up. I don't think they expected that, and I think it changed a lot, honestly. I think the audience will agree with me.
It's a lot of times I tell people, it's like, I'm not a religious person, so I tell people, if you want to know what's wrong with the Bible, do one or two things. You read the Bible or you ask a Muslim, and if you want to know what's wrong with the Quran, you read the Quran or you ask a Christian, because they'll tell you what's wrong with the Quran. So with Steve, I honestly tell people, if you really are conflicted about what's going on, just listen to what he says. Just listen to what he says and see if it matches it. And don't trust me. I've never come to you and say, trust me. I'll come and say, here's the evidence. Yeah. What do you think? That's a different way that's what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is presenting the evidence and seeing if we can come to their own conclusions, because the reason why I'd rather present to you the evidence is because my conclusions could be biased. I have predeceived notions. I may not be looking at the evidence in an unbiased way where you can come to different conclusions and we can talk about that. But if I already told you what the conclusion is, it's going to be harder for us to evaluate the evidence critically.
It's a flat earth thing. Yeah, they like flat earth. They present you the flat earth and then they work backwards, showing you the things that validify this crazy psychotic thing instead of showing you the evidence and working towards what the conclusion could be. Yeah. And it's crazy because that's the whole core of this thing I've been doing lately, which is like this debunker becomes the flat earther or becomes the whatever they criticize, because they don't carry their debunking thought process into the other things on YouTube that they're defending or pushing. So yeah, it's kind of ironic. Okay, to break it up a little, we've got some super chats, and I want to hit them because there's some good ones here. Like, we got to address this. We got to address this because we've got some some funky stuff. Okay, so Leroy hit me with 3 stickers so far. Thank you, Leroy, man. Appreciate the support. Okay, Hannah, I'm going to respond to your super chat with a video. So let me get the others. Okay, Trio Monkey. It's the duo of absolute truth and friendliness. Hello. Thanks. Thanks, Trio. That's a compliment, but thank you. Gabriel, Uni, Nate, and other YouTubers made this possible. Uni has documented, laid down the evidence, and encouraged Katie to act. I don't feel sorry for this RO. And honestly, look, Nate and everybody else out there, Drag and like even Exile, like everybody out there, the Twitter accounts, Menace to Sobriety immediately pulled the debunk on the whole like VAWA thing that was affecting some people. You know, it was causing some people to stand up and be like, look, maybe there's some validity to the fact that this whole thing's funky. So everybody working together did it. Yeah, it's like a community pulling together. Nadia, thanks for the sticker. Hannah, damn Nate, he was your boy. Don't do him like that. Is that the same one? Is that Hannah? Yeah, that's the same person who made the debate comment. Flying Monkey with a great stream. Thanks, man. Insidious Vids. Nate's giving a sermon right now on Steve 101. I lived it. Insidious Vid says, I lived it and so glad Uni got out. Yeah, man, I don't like being in cults. If I realize that there's a cult around me, I'm running. So Christina says, as Navy says, Charlie Manson had everybody do his dirty work. Look where he is now. Yes, true. And then Cat Medley. Yep. I'm going to have to copy Cat Medley's to see it. And YouTube needs to fix this super chat thing. You can't see your bottom super chat for some reason. All right, let me see. Oh. Why did Steve give the channel to Kyle to begin with? Because he needed a channel and there was already 100 subs there. Why didn't Steve get a contract? This should be the question.
Yeah, well, you know what? With the non-sec thing, just so people are clear, Steve has been lying about a lot of that stuff for many, many years. For instance, Steve says that Kyle stole the channel. That is not accurate. No. Steve was actually running around with, all right, the first lie that Steve tells about non-sec is that he never saw any of the financials, right? He never saw any of the financials.
That's a lie. I can prove it.
Yes. Everyone should know that's a lie. The reason why Steve used to go around on various channels under the moniker of the Non-Sequitur Show, right? So he used to go log in and you can see like, you know, his posts and he was posting under the non-sec account. Now, every YouTuber knows if you can log into the account, it's easy to go to StreamYard, it's easy to go to your studio, hit revenue, and you can see how much the channel made from its inception, for the past year, for the past month. So it's
5 years, 10 years.
This is not hidden, you know, this is not, and he had full access to it. And when he lost access to it, is the month right before Kyle booted him. So all that time, he could have looked at the numbers, he could have saw how much he made, and to show you how bad he was at business, he actually, after 18 months of having access to everything, the 1 month Kyle kicked him out, he says he didn't know anything. So that means that all that time, those 2 years, those 18 months, he never looked. He never looked. He only knew what the finances were when I did the stream about, it was when Kyle submitted it to the court. That's when he finally actually looked at the finances. But all that time, he was either incompetent or he was an idiot.
He's lying. Yeah. Well, that's what I said, because immediately I was like, hold up, you guys have the stream key. And if you have the stream key and you're a manager on the account, you can see the revenue. Like I have a channel. It's got more subs than non-sec. I know what your studio looks like. I know exactly what it all is. So I called that out pretty quickly. All those things don't add up. And pretty soon, I think people are going to notice that, you know, the whole celebration that, hey, I won the court case and all this about like I owned half of non-sec. Everybody pretty much is starting to find it. I left a reply comment to somebody who was like, you know, Steve needs to back off of Katie, but, you know, he needs to continue with the Kyle thing. And I said, if you really feel like that, I said, this restraining order, it's opened your mind. This whole year of content was wrong about Katie. Go back and watch my videos on the non-sec thing from recently, because I have the clips in there where he just like we saw him lie about Katie and these other things. I've got the clips where he's lied about non-sec. So maybe people will start opening their mind on non-sec now that this restraining order's out there, you know.
Well, I think the big issue with non-sec, going again to this is not legal advice. I think the big issue for non-sec is going. Well, Kyle said that they have a court date. I believe they do have a court date or a hearing date scheduled. And for everyone knows, I was going to do an update video, but I'll break the news right now. The big issue for Kyle is that he has to convince the court he wasn't served properly. Now, usually affidavits from your parents, friends, and bank statements are enough to do it. But if he can show that he didn't live at that place that the documents were sent to, he can show he wasn't served properly, then the case will be started again from scratch. That is his only hope. If not, then he's lost. So we'll see. Hopefully he can get an attorney and he gets it going, because right now he has to convince that court that he was not served properly to have any chance of winning.
True, and it sucks, That's a pattern also that this Katie thing, it opened the mind for people that when the first claim about this whole thing with Katie, if we go back, was that she was running a troll group. And very quickly you see that there are sock accounts, there are trolls out there, but none of them push a narrative of Katie. They never push anything that's positive to Katie. All of it is only beneficial to one individual out there. And that happened with Kyle. And then it happened again with Katie. And I do think that opened people's minds too. So I hope Kyle, I don't hope Kyle wins. I don't hope Steve wins. I hope they get this. I hope he gets his say. Whether the judge is like, look, we're not going to restart it. Just show me what you got, Kyle. Or whether he says, I'm throwing this out because you got served at a house you didn't live at, which is a violation of your constitutional rights. Whichever happens, I'm hoping that they just have a fair court case. And that you don't hear that enough on social media. You see a lot of people taking Steve's side or Kyle's side, and you don't hear them say, even though I'm on this side, I just want it to be fair. You don't hear that anymore. This whole cancel culture narrative has been fostered on this story, and that needs to end,
Yeah, but this is not an all or nothing thing. I think in the non-sex show, there's nuance being missed. And let's just, and just for my own understanding is that Kyle said he was going to pay Steve something, but that actually never occurred, right? So he should pay Steve. He should pay Steve something, right? And I think everybody would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone also would agree Steve was bad for business. If Steve wasn't a partner, which it seems like he may not have been, then Steve was bad for business. And if you're bad for business, then you got to go. Especially if you're not a partner, if you're an employee, if you're just another co-host, and you start becoming toxic to the company, then I'll have to let you go. But obviously I've compensated you. So I think the fairest possible solution to this whole non-sex stuff would be Kyle gets the channel and he does what he wants to do. Steve gets paid and then he goes and does what he wants to do. And, no, the two should ever meet. But right now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Steve wants the channel. I think Steve wants to show people that he's won. I think he wants to use Ruhaf's money to do it. And I think eventually right now, this is what I call a lawsuit for nothing.
Yeah.
If Steve wins, he gets no money, he gets a channel that's dead, and he gets to say he won a lawsuit. Yep, you do. You know what I'm saying? Yep, you do.
No, you're right. And also, even if Kyle would win, he just wants to honor the show and leave the archive there, because I go back and watch those old streams. I like watching R and Raw and the Jaronism streams and some of the others. I like watching those old streams from back then that we caught live here and there. And yeah, I think that's the right thing to do, is to just archive it regardless. If they can't come to a mutual agreement, they're just going to have to let's say they prove partners, then they're going to have to delete the channel because they won't be able to mutually agree on it. And I don't think Steve's going to get the channel. I think the best, if you look at the first filing he did, was saying that it was a 50-50. You can't just go out and be like, hey, we were 50-50. I want to prove it. I want to fight for it. And now I want to strip my partner of everything because, you know, I say so. And that won't work either. So the right thing will happen now, just like it did with Katie, because there's an update to the Katie story. She went to the hospital with her son. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah, hold on.
Oh no, go ahead.
Let me just say one thing about the non-sick show.
Please
everyone. Steve has been going around saying that he proved that Kyle had done all these things, right? He proved it, and that was what his default judgment is. That is a lie. Steve proved nothing. That's what a default judgment is. The other person didn't show up, so your claims are assumed to be true by default. It's like playing a basketball game and the other team doesn't show up and you say you were the top scorer. You know, you scored 100 points in that game. Like, no, you didn't score any points because no one showed up, you know? Or you're saying you played such a great game at a game on a default. So just to be clear, Steve didn't prove anything. He didn't prove anything. He won by default. And I know it's some people may consider it a distinction without a difference, but it is a distinction because if someone goes with evidence and proves that this person did something, that's different than the other side not showing up and the court saying you won by default. You know what I mean?
Be careful, Nate. You're going to end up debating the word default soon if you don't watch out.
Oh no.
Okay. Well, so anyway, I just wanted to bring up this Katie thing really quick, and we'll hit some more live chats, and we'll look at this other thing I have because we're going to hit the hour mark about then. But okay, so Katie went to the hospital, and out of nowhere again, while she's there with her kid, she starts getting attacked. Now it first appears in the secret little troll group that, hey, Katie's at the hospital and blah, blah, blah. Then she gets a phone call to the hospital that she's in that they're trying to warn the hospital about Katie Joy Paulson. Like, the hospital who is treating her kid really gives a shit about the fact that Katie reports this stuff that she does on the internet. But that happened. The literal phone call about stuff that originated in that troll group once they knew where Katie was ends up happening to the hospital. And it just sucks because a big part of this story now, the debate is how responsible is McCrae for the actions that happen once he dips, because he went in, he framed Katie to be a negative view of Katie, did not give her a fair shake, didn't present the evidence, let people make up their mind. Instead, he presented a negative view of Katie every day, all day, in front of Katie's worst haters. He kicked out anyone that was inquisitive, anybody that was like, had an open mind, anybody that might say, well, listen, this is a little bit dumb attacking Katie over that. They immediately get ejected from the group or they get jumped on by the group. I showed that on Rock a lot last night. My point is, when you start to cultivate the group down from all of these, people that have that kind of like caution to them, and you only have the most crazy, the most vocal, you have performed the necessary steps to create a group of the most crazy haters. And now once he leaves, these crazy haters aren't going to stop. They're not going to go anywhere unless they themselves get in trouble. And how responsible is McCrae? My opinion is very responsible. But what is your opinion of how responsible he is after he dips out for the hate that's there? Hard question.
It is a tough question because usually when it comes to this, because you're really talking about indirect harassment, right? You're talking about, and that you'd have to be able to connect it back to the principle. So you'd have to connect to some posts where Steve is saying, do this or order this or contact Katie or something. It would have to be something where, because I know when we did them here in New York, we would tell the defendant, like, you can't contact the person or you can't have anybody else contact them. Like, hey, have your brother contact her on your behalf or something like that. And I think, and that's what you're trying to look at here. So is there any culpability? I don't know, because it really depends on Minnesota law. But I think one of the key elements you'd have to be able to determine that Steve was the one that was actually giving the orders to do this, to make that phone call. Or he's, like you're saying, he forced an environment where, it was the logical conclusion. Somebody needs to call the hospital and do something. And then somebody goes and calls the hospital. You didn't directly tell them to call a hospital, but he presented the idea in such a way where a reasonable person could say, yeah, he fostered that. So, right, I think if I was if I was advising Steve, I would say, number one, don't speak about this in public until we figure out whether we're going to fight it or not. And number two, you got to get out those groups. You got to get out the troll. Any group that says anything with Katie or anybody's can be said something, because God forbid you like something or something happens and this judge looks and says, this group is saying this and you're still the admin of this group and holds you accountable, then you're in trouble. It's a 2-day jail sentence. You'll be in jail for 2 days. This is not a joke. This is serious. So, hopefully, I'm hoping that Steve wises up, and it seems like he's got some good advice because he hasn't said anything on Twitter for a couple of days. But I don't know. This whole hospital thing is so scumbaggish. It's scary though. It's scary that somebody would actually go through that length, especially when somebody's kid is in the hospital. They would call the hospital. It's like, do people have no shame? You know what I mean?
They don't. And I was going to talk about this also with you, was this community that's formed. And I think personally, and this is my opinion, and not legally or anything, but personally, that a lot of it is because of this thing I just mentioned. But this community, you have like people that go to YouTube and say, this happened in this weird, reality show, or this happened, and I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to talk about how I want to talk about, give my opinion. As long as people know it's my opinion, it's good. Then you get your child starts getting harassed at the hospital. That is happening. It's not something that can be argued. I know that other people out there, like trolls, will be too busy bitching about whether the VAWA is legit, instead of bringing up like how they think about this newest thing, this newest development. But because you give your opinion, now you do have this chance. And really, it hinges upon whether your channel grows. And if you're talking about things that are going to get the eyes of these deranged kind of group of people. But this is bad because it's only going to go further. In fact, back months ago, people were worried that like somebody was going to go knock on Katie's door or something and yell at her and like, something else. But at this point, it's almost, I don't want to say it's inevitable. It seems as if it's inevitable because it's escalating every few days. Even with the restraining order, it's escalating. It's scary. Over an opinion. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Oh, no, it's not. That's not how it's supposed to be. But but there are some protections. And one thing I want to ask you: Do you think? Let's say the restraining order holds for 2 years. Because Steve has 20 days, and let's say he doesn't challenge it, so it's 2 years. Do you think he can last 2 years and not violate this?
No, because I was going to bring that up too. Literally, in response to what you said earlier, or just a bit ago, that's one of the things that made this so bad, was that every time he would type, he would make it about the SH, how she accused him of stuff, and he would make it about, I would ask, or people need to go now and ask her for evidence of that claim. And literally, that whole group's asking her for evidence of that claim. Twitter is asking her for evidence of that claim every time he posts it, wherever he posts it. So that's an order. Like, go ask her about that claim, then they go. So the day after he gets the RO, as soon as he knows he's served, he posts a post. I have it, but I'm not going to scroll to get it. I showed it on Rock a lot if you want to see it. And it says, bloody, bloody, bloody. In my opinion, I would get evidence if somebody... So he's still, whether he changed it from go ask her to, in my opinion, I would go get evidence from her, he's still trying to, in a veiled way, say, hey, trolls that support me, go get that evidence from her. Knowing at the root cause of this, there is no... Katie admitted that this happened when they weren't recording. And people that sexually harass people will not do it when they're freaking on a podcast or being recorded somewhere. They're just crazy to proposition people and talk about their stuff when you're being recorded. So even though we know there's no evidence that keeps happening, I don't think he'll make it, because he's already violated. Whether or not that will get turned into the judge or whether it'll affect him, he's already done it. Eventually it'll happen. I've already I've drawn the opinion that he's out there doing it right now, because right after he posted his last thing, now we've got these weird accounts that pop up no one's ever seen before, and they're kind of just zooming in there with no history. They were one Reddit was created 3 days ago, another 10 days ago, another was created 2 days ago on Twitter, and they're all like pushing that whole same narrative that he's pushing. So I think he's just doing it himself still. But anyway, that's what I think. So
yeah, and you're right. A lot of these troll accounts were in June 2020, and they're all saying these crazy things. But one thing I think right now, the problem on the other side, I think Steve's problem is, his problem isn't us. It's the court system now. It's the legal, it's the judge. It's all of that is now come to check what he's been doing. You know, you can't harass people. That's what this is about. And I think it hurts his own personal narrative. This hurts the story. This hurts the team. Don't forget, he's been going around telling people for all these years, Nate Broady is the troll. He's harassing me. UNIRock's a troll. He's a liar. He's this, he's that. But now when someone's looked at the evidence and evaluated it, they've said that he is so bad at harassing someone that he needed to be restrained immediately for and it's going to be good for 2 years unless he comes and tells them why it's not harassment. So that's the truth. This is where we're at. And I don't think you can spin this any other way.
No, you can't. You really can't, Nate. All right, Nate, do you have another 10, 20 minutes, or am I keeping you? You know, like I don't want to. I know you're busy. Okay, so we're going to talk about, all right, we're going to talk about a couple more things. I'm going to go ahead and mute Nate, and I'll, you know, it'll only be about a minute, and we're going to play a clip. If you want to grab a drink or if you got to do anything, go ahead, and I'll do that now. And then we had a couple super chats, and I'm going to play a video clip, so I had to mute Nate anyway. So I'm going to use it as a chance to let him take a breather, to get a drink, or, you know, whatever he's got to do, while I answer a super chat from earlier that we haven't answered yet. And it's weird, because in my comments section, out of nowhere, I was looking at my phone, and it shows you the 3 newest comments, okay? So every once in a while, I'll respond to some of your comments, or I'll heart or pin a comment. You know this if you comment on my videos. When I'm not too busy. So I saw a comment saying that I wouldn't debate Red's rhetoric. That I wouldn't debate Reds. When I've been waiting on a debate with Reds for a good long while now. What is that now? 32 days? Okay. Since he officially denied me a debate. So in response to Hannah Zubby, will UNIRock or Nate Broady finally debate Red's rhetoric? Emoji face. I don't know what emoji face that is. Well, no, we won't, because Reds won't do it. And let me show you the evidence. So, because, oh God, Uni's lying about Reds again. No, actually, Reds is lying himself. Well, he's allowing you to think it. He's okay with it being spammed around, and he won't say anything about it. But oh my, he'll talk about some other stuff, won't he? We've got this. This is from my moderator to Modern Day Debate. Hi, I'm afraid Steve declined, but thanks for thinking of me for hosting. I hope you're healthy and well, James. This is James of Modern Day Debate, who backs me up that I challenged Steve to a debate and Steve declined. Well, this is Modern Day Debate, and he will back me up that I contacted him to debate Reds also. He contacted Reds, and this is what he said. Hi, Reds said that he will debate you as long as these conditions are met. So you've seen these conditions, because I did a little bit of a live stream on this when it happened on Rock a Lot. But this video from Road User actually describes the entire thing perfectly. It shows you the reasons that Red's rhetoric, or the things he needed me to do to debate him. Then, in Red's own words, it shows how he feels when somebody tries to put conditions and makes a debate unfair. Take a look. So here is the answer to your comment, Hannah. Here we go. It's playing. I don't think here, I'll play music where there is none. In 2018, Sean challenged Anthony Riley to a debate. Riley replied with an unreasonable condition and would not debate alone on an impartial channel. In this video, we see Reds and Sean Hufford's thoughts. Now, the conditions are exactly like the conditions that Reds gave me. It's almost like he's trolling again. Take a look.
Anthony has decided to pull something worse than jism when it comes to setting conditions for a debate. When I informed him of this hangout, I gave him the link to the watch page and just said, neutral channel, just you and me, no possibility to kick each other, no possibility to snipe, no chance of unannounced people joining, as everyone must ask to join. And that,
just like with me offering him a fair debate,
that asking can actually be refused. So Anthony decides to pull something worse than a gerund. He's actually not going to show, and this is why. His reason, not until you admit publicly that you lied about having a meeting with a judge and extradition refused on the possible grounds of insanity.
Just like Reds wanted me to admit that Reds didn't strawman me.
You admit you lied and identify specifically what you lied about, and sure, you're on, buddy. Till then, fuck off.
Just like Reds did to me.
So he has pulled...
Sorry, I'm trying to add to the video content, okay?
...the ultimate puss-out move and said, even though he's the one that called me out to talk about this...
Just like me.
And then when I accepted, he sets a condition he knows...
Just like me.
...will not be met. So, Anthony, yes, you're a pussy.
Well, we now know how they feel about themselves doing the condition 1, but what about the other conditions?
But he needs Nathan to help him when his BS gets called out, which I actually said in my comment thread between me and him, that he won't have Nathan there to back him up. That's why he won't come.
One-on-one, can't do it. Can't do it.
In other words, you're more than happy to make claims when you have people just sucking your balls saying, yep, yep, yep. And when you're correct, when you're actually confronted on those claims and they're not there to back you up, you are an absolute coward.
Exactly. Thanks for describing what Reds did and what he is now that he did it.
Thank you for proving that.
But you need Nathan to hold your hand and cup your balls and stroke it in just the right way for you to...
And you need Sean to do that for you if you debate me, Reds. Provably.
Feel confident in the bullshit that you're spewing. That says a lot about you, and none of it is good.
I agree. It does say a lot about you, Reds, and none of it is good.
Just throwing that out there. So thank you for demonstrating that not only that you are a fucking coward, but that...
Ouch. Ah. Ouch. Kind of stings. It kind of stings to hear him call himself a coward.
You are Nathan's fucking lapdog. No offense,
Ow.
Well, what it is Nathan, whenever Anthony starts to get back in the corner, Nathan will jump in and just start talking nonstop so nobody else can get a word in edgewise. So Anthony doesn't have to actually face what he's been dealt.
Thanks for telling me exactly why Reds won't debate me one-on-one on an impartial channel. Oh, you just told us exactly how you guys feel about Reds doing that. Got it.
Exactly. Basically,
Thank you,
making
Reds.
his bed and he doesn't want to lay in it.
Yep, I agree, Reds.
Go figure.
But
Go
thank
figure,
you,
buddy.
Anthony, for proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that you don't have an argument on your own. You have to have everybody else.
I agree that Reds doesn't, and that's why he has to have everybody else there.
Coddle you.
Yep, I agree. All right, back with Nate Broady in just a couple seconds. I'm back. I'm back. I'm here. All right, Nate, you still here, man?
Yep, I am here. What's going on?
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you're still with me.
Oh yeah. I just listened to the Red rhetoric. I had a debate with him too. Well, not a debate. He wanted to talk to. He wanted to have a debate about Steve being a blank apologist. So I challenged him to the debate. He said he was going to take it, but then he declined it. So I think Red likes to put a lot of conditions on his debates. Like one of his top conditions is that you must lose. That's one of his top conditions. So.
Exactly. That was condition number one. Basically, by me admitting that he didn't straw man me, then he could go into the debate on Modern Day Debate and get away with any argument he wanted to make and use that against me, which none of the things that he set as conditions should have been set as conditions before the debate. If you look at them, they should have just been debated fairly in the debate. At least we had the video clip that shows what him and his buddies really think about people that do those things with debates, right? I had to play that. Sorry, Nate. Normally I wouldn't have, but we had a super chat come in that was like talking about it. So I thought, hey, it's the perfect time.
Oh, no. That was a perfect time. I think it was brilliant. And I think at the end of the day, Reds is kind of he's a little scared. He's scared of. He has this persona, the persona of being flamboyant, the persona of being confident. But
the internet tough guy.
Yeah, but you get into the thing, you get slapped up a little bit, and all the persona's gone. So.
Yep. So you got to protect that thing. Okay. Now we've got a couple super chats and then we got another couple topics. So let me get them out of the way quick. We've got Love calling people out $1. Thank you. We've got Gabriel. His subs have gone up 3. Oh yeah. We've got to talk about this. So it's perfect. His subs have gone up 300 again. It's like when you F up a magic trick around your friends, obvious and embarrassing. I agree, Gabriel. What do you think, Nate? Like, okay, let me say this though. I'm sorry. It is too obvious what's going on there. That's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to hand it off to you, and then I'll jump back in. So go ahead.
Well, just because it seems like litigation seems to fly around these people so much, you've got to be careful with my words. Yeah. Allegedly, this is my opinion. My opinion is that it seems like, based on looking at his channel, if you went from 12,000 subs to 17,000 subs, your engagement should have grown too, and your viewership should have grown. So you should get more views on your videos, right? Because you got just another 4,000 people, right? What's it, 12 to 17? Yeah, another 5,000 people watching your stuff. So you should have more comments, more views. It shouldn't be stable. And right now, his views and his views and comments and everything else, all his engagement is exactly the same at 12,000 as it is at 17,000. So to me, it seems obvious that these subs are not actual people, but I could be missing something. There may be, so I have to qualify that because I don't want him to hit me with a fake defamation suit, which wouldn't be defamation. There's a lot, but anyway. But right now, I think anybody who just looks at it knows that what he's doing. He's buying subs, and it's pathetic.
Yeah, it's a big YouTube no-no because it stacks the deck when it comes to other YouTubers, kind of, right? And if you're using bots that sub to your channel through your video watch page, or if you have a video loaded on the front of your channel and those bots sub to you from the front of your channel, it'll also play ads and it'll give a bot an ad play, which is, of course, horrible, and it's a manipulative thing that YouTube has had to battle. Every platform battles because people will set bots to watch ads to make a lot of money every month. Now, one weird thing about his channel is that whoever is subbing, I'm not saying it's bots, I'm just going to give some facts about how these new people are subbing to his channel. They are subbing from the search window. So whoever it is, if it's a robot, yo robot, if it's I was gonna do the robot and I stopped myself because I don't want anyone making fun of me in the super chats, which you're probably gonna do anyway now that I did half a robot. But whether it's a robot, a real person, whoever it is that's subbing, they're doing it after they just search his name, and then at the top bar, in fact, I'll just do it since I'm done with this. If I type his name, so here's the bot is initiating this search, and then they're clicking this, and I can prove this. Because if the bot was doing it through a video, it would give him a view. And if the bot was doing it through the front of his channel, it would give him a view. See, this would play and the bot would get a view on him. Now, if you look on the days when he doesn't make a video and he only has 400 or 500 views, he's still gaining 300 subs. His conversion rate is above 65% of his views for that day. 65% of those views are clicking unless they're not. Well, obviously, this is his normal view time, his normal clicks, normal algorithmic clicks, about 500, and somehow 300 people come in. I don't get it, and I don't know why. It just seems so bad. That's all I can say.
It's at the point where it's obvious, but I think what's the narrative? The narrative now is that somebody else is buying subs for his channels. It's like
me.
The
narrative is I am AT2 and others at UNIRock's doing it or something. So I guess I got all this money lying around to buy him. We did one of the people in my Discord server went to one of the websites where you can buy them just to see the price, and it came out to he would have had to have spent over $2,000 by now. In the bare minimum to get that many. So damn. I guess I'm just hooking him up. I'm just a nice guy. He's calling me the nicest guy ever by saying that. So
hey man, you gotta hook some of us up. You know what I'm saying? You got all this money.
Yeah, spread it around. Why am I just giving it to him? Why don't I spread that around a little bit? Okay.
Hey, we should get some restraining orders out to Reds and AT2.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Cat Medley says, was Steve trying to hide income and that's why he gave? I'm not sure what you mean by why he gave.
Oh, I think they're talking about the Medi-Cal thing where Steve told Kyle to hold the money.
Oh.
So he wouldn't go over the income requirements of Medi-Cal, and then eventually never got the money. So
gotcha.
That's just tough. But I don't know. There's two ways you can think about that. There's, did they have the intent to defraud Medi-Cal or to get a service that they weren't entitled to by hiding funds? I don't know. That's intent that you'd have to show. I think there's a lot here that you can allude to, but at the end of the day, it would really be up to the state prosecutor to determine whether Steve was trying to hide funds to stay eligible for Medi-Cal when he would not have been. That's it. So I'm not sure if those facts make that case, but from what I've been seeing, I think a fair argument can be made that yes, that was it. Hell, you got Steve on camera saying that he gave him the money, so he can continue to get Medi-Cal. So
yeah, well, and here's what I think, and I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice to Steve here, guys. I think that I'll just go ahead and due to pity say he wasn't trying to defraud Medi-Cal, in my opinion, and I mean that. But if I'm showing evidence to the contrary, sure. But one thing I'll say, his words that he used, the way he spoke, the statements he made when he was confronted by Shannon and other people, and these clips that are out there, and combined with the stuff he said behind the scenes, being corroborated by those statements to Shannon and other people, I know for a fact that somebody like Katie saying that he admitted to Medi-Cal fraud is not wrong, because he has to be able to. This is what bothers me. He could have said, I misspoke, I was nervous, I was booming out, like whatever he wants to say is the excuse for why he said what he said, which is, I wanted paid I wanted him to give it to me in cash, and that leads people to be able to go up and say, in my opinion, yeah, he's defrauding Medi-Cal, just like other people say now. So the thing of hating Katie so much because she drew that opinion, she drew it off your own words. So if you would have just got up and said, hey, I didn't mean to say that, maybe people won't believe you, but it's way better to defense than a year-long attacking the woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially because he's the one that said it. He's the one that said it. It's, this is, but again, that's Steve, he says something and then he goes right back and say, well, I didn't say this, I really meant this.
Yes.
It's a crime attack.
But then holds people accountable for the opinions that they drew. And that's the key to the story, right? That's the actual real, what I call a Moab. It's always someone else's fault, even when there's a recorded evidence of an admission or recorded him doing something, it's still everybody else's fault. It's Kyle's fault that he didn't sign a contract. It's Kyle's fault that his daughter's not going to get perpetuity into forever money paid perpetuities. It's Kyle's fault. Now it's Katie's fault that she believes that he defrauded Medi-Cal. It's Katie's fault that he said stuff about his thingy and other thing. That's the key fundamental realization about the story. You got to at least be able to admit when you're wrong, because if you double down too far, you'll roll down a hill and become restrained. I don't know. Sorry.
One thing. I'm gonna have to go in 10 minutes, but one thing I will say is that with this, I think this is taught everyone, is that you can't just go out and harass people for over a year and there not be consequences. Because there's not only consequences for Steve, but there may be consequences for other people. It's very easy to get a subpoena and send it to Google for, the IP addresses for these accounts, who's using these accounts, are they using them on phones and so forth. So if people are in this campaign of harassment against Katie and see what's going on with Steve, if you want to see if Steve is taking it seriously, look at his Twitter account and see how many times he's talked about Katie after he got served. Look at YouTube. Look to see what Steve has been doing. He's been keeping his mouth shut. If he can leave this woman alone, then you should leave this woman alone, because you don't want to be on the other end of a restraining order. Because don't forget, these things can be easily found out. Job interviews. Hold on, some woman got a restraining order. You in Minnesota? What the hell happened? Oh yeah, I was for about a year. I was making videos about her being a liar. Well, you went too far. You went too far.
Yeah, and I'm one of the few people that actually saw a lot of the stuff that Katie has. The evidence that she has that she literally walked in and put down in this case. And I'll say it straight away. Anyone out there in these troll groups or participating in calling hospitals, threatening about people's addresses, doxing people, I'm telling you, I this isn't me saying it to intimidate you into stopping. If you want to take it that way, take it that way. Katie is dead serious. She has so much evidence that if she needs to go down and slap, if other people are still doing this, she'll go slap it down and it'll get filed out to more people. It will happen. So just putting that out there.
I think you're 100% correct. I think sometimes Steve forgets that there's a lot of collateral damage. Like, for instance, Leslie Bass. Collateral damage, right? He did the fake fundraiser, blah, blah, blah. Collateral damage is her channel was destroyed. She had nothing, and he said, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Right? Yeah. And that's what he continuously does. And that's what happens. And I think that's what's going to happen now. He's going to try to throw somebody else under the bus. Who? I don't know.
He tried to do it to me, but I think he learned his lesson on that one. I don't know. Another big story out there right now is that there are now lawsuits going on between other YouTubers, and a lot of them it's kind of weird, but a lot of the people who are filing lawsuits now end up being connected to Steve McRae. It's crazy, but Creepshow Art shared this. It's a post from Tater Tatiana, a commentary YouTuber with, let's see here, 27,000 subscribers that talked about Lillee Jean a few times and her mom. And let me just read this real quick. Lillee Jean and her mother, Laura Truman, have been trying to take Tater Tatiana down and have been harassing her for months. They have issued no fewer than 3 privacy strikes, all of which were deemed false by YouTube, and she's fighting back. If you're able or feel compelled, feel free to donate to her legal fight against Lillee and Laura. Maybe this will help. Maybe this will be the shock to their system to realize that they need to stop. And here is a GoFundMe on my screen of another YouTuber suing another YouTuber for the exact same kind of thing that Katie got the restraining order on Steve for, and it looks pretty serious because Tater Tatiana could destroy her channel if she takes this money and then doesn't go through with it. That will look bad on her. And so, Nate, what do you think about this? Do you think more YouTubers are going to start suing more people after Katie slammed down this restraining order? What do you think?
Well, I think 2 things. I think one is cost, right? Is how much is this thing going to cost me? How much did it cost her? Because these things aren't free, to go make these things happen. And second, I think it opens up an avenue of this type of fight back, because most people didn't realize this avenue. Most people would think about defamation and things of that nature. The person defamed me. But as you know, we're all public figures. We go out there and put these things out. So it's harder for us to be defamed than someone who's not a public figure. But I think in this instance, though, it's easy for you to be harassed. And And it's critical. It's critical that I think right now we are living at a time where we have to start rethinking how we interact online. Because if we have been harassing each other all this time, we may not have known it. But I think now we're starting to see the boundaries, both legally and civilly, of what we can do and how we should be interacting, you know, and what's going to be acceptable. What Steve was doing was not acceptable. You know what I'm saying? But what you're doing is acceptable. And we have to understand how to distinguish those clear boundaries, because Steve likes to live in the gray area, but now he's not in the gray area. He's in the black. You know, he has to turn that around.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You got anything else you want to add in, Nate? I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got your family there. You got your job. You got your YouTube channel. I appreciate you talking with me on this. I hope to get you in soon. Everybody, it's Nate Broady. Search his channel, subscribe. Mods, I know you've been sharing his link, but make sure you pump it out for the rest of the stream. Nate, it's been crazy. I do think this is going to go down in a little bit of YouTube history. It might take a while for people to start noticing it, but I'm going to put out a big documentary-esque thing. I'm going to send it to a bunch of YouTubers. I actually sent in the Lillee Jean story to a bunch of bigger YouTubers a few months ago, and then all of a sudden there's a big 5 million view video on that whole thing. So hopefully there'll be some attention to this. We'll see what happens.
Well, listen, I do think, I will say this. I do think Katie has changed the game, because now all those people who have been harassed either by Steve or by other YouTubers now have some recourse. They say, well, we can just get a restraining order and look, the Violence Against Women. And that's another, the other irony of this. It's the Violence Against Women's Act that's slapping Steve in the face. After that whole David Silverman fiasco, anti-Me Too, he's being slapped in the face with the Violence Against Women's Act. You couldn't make this stuff up. You know what I mean?
It's huge. It's huge. Just a lot of people don't know yet. They'll know soon, though. They will know soon. So, all right, Nate. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Hope to have you back soon.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, anytime, man. Okay, that was Nate Broady. Let me pull up his channel really quick, and we'll make sure that you guys have links in the chat. My mods are going to make sure, because Nate is doing some really good content. He read the restraining order. You know, Nick Rakita and other lawyers and Viva Frey, Nate, they all do this. They're all lawyers. They all put out like a legal analysis. They cover trending topics. They cover things that affect our community and where we exist. He's done great videos, got a great format, and I recommend his channel and hope you'll go subscribe, because this is pretty massive. I'm going to read the rest of the super chats, and I held Nate too long. When me and Nate start talking, we could talk for hours and hours and hours. I tried to get us to like every topic I could, but you know, we need more time. We got to do another stream soon. I'm going to try to get him back. Anyway, let's hit the rest of the super chats. Let's hear what you got to say. And let me show you a little more about this, because we didn't get to get into it. We talked too much about the other stuff. And it's weird. It's bad, because I'm a free speech guy. I also think, though, that you will have to have consequences based on your actions or your speech. And you guys have heard what I think. I've heard what you think for years, the people that follow me. And I do hate the fact that all this is going on, though it had to. And I'll explain why in just a minute. And then we're going to hit these super chats. Woo, baby. Turn it up, busy. Okay, I value free speech. I value free speech in comedy. I value free speech when it comes to everybody speaking their mind. I don't like the changes YouTube's made. I don't like demonetization. You know this, so I'm not going to rant on all that. I'm going to tell you that when you criticize somebody, and I gave Steve advice, and he's the type of person that will block you if your advice isn't what he wants to hear. But my advice was, Criticize somebody on what they're doing or something else that they've done, and put work into what you do in your credit. You can't just get up there and just start talking. That's what led to this, okay? I can attest to you because I've been on that channel and he's been here. There's no preparation involved. It is whatever you're thinking at the time, spill it out, and then if you start getting donations, you're going to talk more and more and more. You're not going to move to a point and then end it. You're going to take it far as you can. And that is what's led to this. Random, empty-headed, just spewing lies and spewing a sided based type of rhetoric, and it's led here because there was a combination in behind the scenes participation in closed groups that threatened, closed groups that talked about how Katie wasn't safe in her home. I showed you this. It will go into a final video. So I'll do the work that needs to happen to make sure that people know that it wasn't just somebody on YouTube being a certain way, saying a certain thing, because then they're going to scream free speech and violations of it. What this was, if you take that, you criticizing on YouTube, and mix in doxing, mix in telling people to go harass, telling people to go do something that is not, instead of just telling them what's going on. That's where that line was drawn. That's where it was crossed, okay? The secret troll group and then seeing what happened in it, that post, Katie thinks she's safe. We've had her address for months. Him being an administrator and not moderating it, even after he was made aware from Twitter, those things are what's led here, not free speech, not just saying something on YouTube. If it would have been just saying something on YouTube, this would have happened to him back when he made all the YouTube content. You remember, it was when he got quiet on YouTube that a lot of this harassment started. A lot of the really crazy things popped up, right? Have you seen this clip of Cheshire advocating for infanticide up to age 3? I have, Randolph, and I did play it on the Rock-A-Lot channel. And I will eventually have it in a video here, but a lot of the stuff I'm doing that's not a development to the story here, the core story, I'm going to put into uploads, because I think also the live streams, they're giving attention to these guys, and then their antics are magnifying the amount of attention that they're getting. So I'm moving that type of response to uploads, but I will be giving an opinion on that here on UNIRock 2 also. But the combination, before I move on to the super chats, the combination of being in a troll group on Instagram, being in a group on Facebook, locking the group down, kicking out anyone who defends Katie in the slightest bit, and I'm talking literally just, hey, aren't you going too far putting her address there? Get that person. Whose side are you on? Remember when they said somebody tried to say, hey, Steve's got a restraining order. You can't tell him to go get Katie. In fact, I might just show it. I might just show this last thing because I had it in last night's stream, but in the actual group that he's still a moderator of, they were saying things as extreme as, the reason that Steve told us he started this group and got us together is to take her down, and permanently, essentially. I want to read exactly what it said. If you give me a minute, I will. But those things led to this, not an opinion on YouTube, not a criticism. Now, one other thing that's been exposed, here it is. Let me read these two things to you because I haven't updated you on this on UNIRock 2. First, let's do this one. I'll hit all the super chats. Give me just a moment. Unless you're trolling me, and then I'll block you. Steve Elliott, you're forgetting why this page exists. It's to help Steve take her down once and for all. You're either with us or against us. And that's in response to this guy saying something not even crazy, not even like, if I have what he said, which I do, I just have to scroll enough to find it. If I recall, he said something to the effect of that Steve has a restraining order. You can't tell him to go get Katie. Somebody said, go get her, Steve. The guy says, hey, you can't say that because you're going to get him in trouble with the restraining order. That was the response. This is the response to someone saying that. You're forgetting why this page exists. Help Steve take her down once and for all. So I don't know if these guys are crazy as hell and lost their whole mind, but how do you expect anybody outside of your little cult to take that statement? You're going to take her down. Okay, fine. Let's just give you a little bit of, leeway. You're taking her down on YouTube, her channel down, which is messed up because she should have her channel and be able to do it if she's not violating TOS. So it's messed up, even saying taking her channel down. But okay, fine, you said it. Once and for all. So what are you saying? What does that mean? Because you can't take a YouTube channel down once and for all like that, right? You must be saying something else. And there's only one other thing you could be saying there. Now, of course, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's not what he meant. It was all metaphor. Fine, cool, right? But you can't expect us all to take it that way when just a month or two ago, her address was posted by an administrator and it said, she thinks she's safe in her house. We've had her address for months. You can't combine those things together because those things shouldn't happen. It's why you get moderated in my live chat for saying something like that. It's why people don't allow that kind of doxing and that kind of stuff inside groups that are made. And if you do have a Discord server that does it, they delete the server. If you have a Reddit group where they dox somebody, they delete the Reddit. Reddit does if they're called in, right? If the moderator doesn't act and ban the post on Reddit, they'll delete it, right? Okay, also, you can sum up this entire troll group with this post. I read it last night on Rock-A-Lot, so I will not read it now because it will take me 10 minutes. I'm going to hit the super chats. But this person is disturbed. They are disturbed. They contradict themselves in the post. And essentially, what they're saying, you can't keep repeating the same thing and expect a different result to Katie and not seeing how applying this horrible criticism to one person without having some reason for it, without like having some new developing story or something, and yet having somebody else sitting next to that person in the story that you forgive for all those things. That's the definition of letting someone go with the criticism you have, what you're calling the criticism you have, which isn't, but still, and you are targeting the other person with what you're giving them. Now, I'm not talking about criticism. I'm not saying when you criticize, you give an opinion on their opinion. You give a take on what they put out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Katie's evil, Katie's nasty, Katie sucks, Katie does this. You get me? So these things combined together make you say, this is what Nate was saying earlier. If you're still in the group that's saying these things, you're probably destined to wind up in trouble. Okay? Now that we'll hit the super chats because I'm heading over to the Rock-A-Lot channel. Okay, Nate and Uni, yay, says Skynet. Well, thank you. I love having Nate on. He's really been working on refining his content, and he's doing a great job, yeah. Do you think, August, do you think MDD will have Steve on again after all that's gone down this week? I don't think anybody will. I don't think anybody will. For one, he won't debate anybody on Katie. He won't debate anyone on his content against Katie, which is really weird coming from somebody who champions themselves as the king moderator of YouTube, the OG moderator of YouTube, which he's not, but still, you know, not being able to step up like Reds, like Steve, and actually defend the shit that they're putting out. It's a little weird, in my opinion. Now, I get it if he says Uni's a troll or something, but there's other people, right? I mean, other people wanted to debate him about his content on Katie before me, and he himself proved that he wanted me to cover this story by asking me. So it's a little weird for him to, all I do is criticize you, and now I can't be trusted to debate you on this, right? Well, everyone knows why. The evidence that we have, you gotta, when you run from the truth of the story, then you don't have a defense, and the only thing he can do is run from that truth. I'm willing to play the clips that show he's not just criticizing Katie. He's doing these other things behind the scenes that he doesn't represent on YouTube, that he only represents off network, that are taking it across the line. And that's what's giving that perception to a basic YouTube viewer. Let's keep moving. Okay. Dead GPK, thank you. The Geek Room, Steve is going to pick up condoms in jail. We need that story. I posted it on Reddit. And that one Reddit, cleaning up condoms, it's like the Steve Reddit now. I posted in that Reddit like, hey, somebody tell me that story. Tell me what happened. Like, what does this mean? And the only thing I've gotten is that in order to live in a place, he had to clean condoms up out of the yard every day. I don't know what that means. It's weird. So anyway, Gabriel, will YouTube suspend channels buying subs? They will do two things. Great question, Gabriel. That's a great question. And I know the answer because I've studied analytics and I've seen YouTubers do this before, buy subs before. Two things can happen. One is that YouTube has an issue when trying to suspend somebody for buying subs. You have to be able to at least logically deduce that it is that YouTuber doing it. Now, there is a really popular YouTuber named Deji, and Deji has how many? What was it? Deji had 10 million subs. He was at 9 million. He was only 50,000 away from 10 million, and he bought 50,000 subs and got 10 million. Then he didn't pay the company. He charged back his payment, so that company came out and put out all the evidence, all the receipts, everything to show that Deji's email address that he uses for YouTube bought those subs. Right? So will YouTube delete Deji? Most likely, YouTube will delete the subs because Deji has a manager. Deji, of course, is going to say whatever he has to say in order to keep his channel. So he's probably already emailed YouTube, I didn't buy the subs. Maybe my mom did or someone else. I will make sure they come off my account and it won't happen again, but I didn't do it. That's the issue. YouTube will have to hear the defense from people and then make up their mind. Now, when it comes to Deji, I don't know what they're going to do. I know that most likely Deji's 50,000 subs are going to be removed from his channel. That's why you don't buy them. And that's why people like Deji buy them from reputable, like, big companies that all these big YouTubers know about. But when it comes to smaller YouTubers, it's a complete roll of the dice. YouTube may look at it and see how egregious this is with his statistics and delete him. YouTube may look at it and delete the just the subs, you know. But one thing's for sure, you know, most likely YouTube, when they run, YouTube runs a check with their algorithm every few months. Usually, I've seen them do it twice a month before, and it'll go. You always know it happens because depending on how many subs you have, X amount of your subscribers, typically a small number, close their accounts, or they violate YouTube's terms of service and their account gets deleted, or they lose their cell phone and they go inactive, or they are bot accounts that go out and subscribe to a bunch of channels so they can subscribe to people that are buying subs. Even channels that buy subs, those bots have to sub to other channels or else it'd be obvious. They try to cloak it and make it look like a real person who subs to many channels. Anyway, to answer your question without rambling, because I was going to say more, I don't know what'll happen. Nobody does. But in my opinion, is he doing it? He has to be. How? I could understand 1 or 2 days because of a shout out out there, which we can't find. This imaginary shout out happened and 300 people subscribed through the YouTube search to his channel. Now, Steve accused me once. I had a channel where I had a video where I was live and there were 3,000 people watching me laugh at Nathan Oakley for something new that Nathan Oakley did. And after Steve got mad at me, he started saying that I bought those viewers, those live viewers. I bought them. So I put out evidence that I didn't. I went to the very video that he was accusing me with 3,000 concurrent live viewers, and there's a clip on it down under my live stream clips of that show with the viewer count and everything. I went to the analytics for the video. I screenshotted where every view came from, like the graph, you know, the thing that tells you where your views came from. Went to Twitter and I put it out. You going to accuse me of buying viewers so that I could have 3,000 concurrent viewers? Well, here's evidence that I didn't buy any because all of those viewers came from 83% was recommended, 10% was YouTube search. I put out the breakdown for where my viewers came from for that video in order to show people. He has the option to do that with these new subs. He could show you, but he hasn't, and he won't because he, in my opinion, he is. I don't want to be mean. Maybe he's just having a breakdown. I don't know, but let's move on. Stacy says, you don't have my permission to use this for Steve's subs. I will not use your super chat to buy Steve's subs. I promise. Okay. Love calling people out. The troll group tried to dox me and failed miserably. You know, I want to say something on that in just a minute. August, Uni likes Red Bull more than he just likes Steve, as if he would buy his subs. I know, right? And then the blessed one just sent a sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. So when it comes to the whole buying of subs thing, when it comes to this whole situation, it's ending. It's all drawn out, and Nate went over the actual paperwork, and I wanted to talk to him about it, so we did this stream. And I am working on my summation videos for all these topics now that they're finally coming to an end. We got the other court case is going to come to an end very soon. Also, it's not much longer, and we're going to know the result of the other court case. Now, the thing is, we do have this court case popping up, and it involves Lillee Jean and the momager. And a lot of YouTubers are going to be talking about this court case, okay? And also, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me fix this. Help me. I want to show you this GoFundMe. Am I telling you to go donate? I'm not. I'm just showing it to you. I would tell you to, but I want to look into it before I give you my opinion on whether you should help out. So look to a future live stream to see what I think there. But let's just look at it together because I haven't looked at it in depth yet. Help my legal fees for creator rights, fighting for creators' rights. And it states, hi, everybody. My name is Tatiana, but I go by Tater Tatiana on YouTube. I've set up this GoFundMe to help with legal fees in my fight for creator rights. I completely understand that now is a tough time for everyone. I encourage you to donate money to funds like the Minnesota Bail Fund or the NAACP. Additionally, many people are suffering because of the global issues. I ask you only donate if you are able. Before I can move forward with legal action, my attorney needs $3,500 initial payment to cover the 10 hours of his work. I've already covered the $200 consultation fee. I know a lot of you have been expressing wanting to help me financially if I wanted to take legal action. I changed the goal from 35 to 4 in case I had to pay another fee or wanted to pay for another hour or two. Any remaining funds, assuming we go over my goal, will be split. I will keep half those funds in case I have to take further legal action. If you cannot donate, please share the YouTube channel, the Brooklyn Community Bail Fund, and there are 61 people that are donating as of now. And this is according to Creepshow Art right here, the YouTuber Tatiana and her mother. I'm sorry, I read that completely. Lillee Jean and her mother, Laura Truman, have been trying to make Tater Tatiana down and have been harassing her for months. They have issued no fewer than 3 privacy strikes on her channel, all of which were deemed as false by YouTube. She's fighting back. If you're able to or feel compelled, feel free to donate to her legal fight against Lillee and Laura. Maybe this will help shock their system to realize they need to stop. Creepshow, when are you going to do a video about Without a Crystal Ball and Mr. Earl McCrae's issue? Because Creepshow did a video on Steve a long time ago. In fact, it was back right after he started attacking Katie. Creepshow did a video on him. It was about the Lillee Jean story because he started to attack Creepshow for giving her opinion, right? And I'm not going to go into all of that. I think if you want to help get this story noticed, you need to just tag bigger YouTubers and let them know what happened. I'm going to do my part, like I stated earlier. I'm going to make a documentary-esque mini doc, like YouTube video, breaking down everything that happened with the timeline and the evidence. So I think it will really be I think it'd be a really big story if people found out that just now one of the most craziest restraining orders ever happened on YouTube's history. So maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe something will happen. But before I go, I'm going to scan the live chat for anything you got that you didn't. If you didn't have money to donate, but you want your opinion read out, type it now. Tag me, UNIRock, okay? And I'll read what you got to say there. And I just appreciate all you coming, supporting Nate, and sticking through this miserably long, shitty story involving the question of when is it too much? When does it become harassment? And I think we know the answer to all of this now with that last situation. All right. All right, I got my live chat pulled up. All right, I can see all of you beautiful people. Bunny says, Uni, sometimes what looks like a sock account is just a sick effer. I know. I do know. Conrad says, under the new YouTube rules of harassment, it should not be getting so far that somebody has to hire attorneys. All it does is cripple content without helping creators that need it, and I agree, Conrad. Do I have time to make a cuppa before a rockalata? You do. because I'm going to be taking about a 10-minute break myself. I'm going to eat something so I'm not starving all night while I stream on Rock-A-Lot like I always do. Yeah, I don't like the fact that attorneys had to get involved, but if you don't want attorneys involved, one, don't go after people's families and homes, and two, like, here's my problem. You got all these people in that in that troll group. And if you read that troll group, you go through it with permission from the admins who said they didn't want any of it hidden. They don't care who sees what's there. We have their permission. Remember, if you go through it, you get nothing but I'm better than you. I've already made up my mind. There's no argument. This is how it is. And you have to do this. Like that post I showed you. It's indicative of all the posts. We know what you're doing. No other possibility. In order for you to get us to stop, you're going to have to make an apology video about the SH. That's, as you saw on the Rock-A-Lot channel last night, that's what that entire Facebook group says repeatedly, you know? Now, no person out there, no good person, no person that's being serious about this story. If you ask Katie, or even if you ask the other side what they feel, they're going to say, okay, you feel that way. I want to see the evidence I have to make up my mind, and I'll tell you how I feel. That's not happening here. That's the biggest issue. It's the opposite. It's saying, you're evil. You're nasty. I can't tell you why. I won't show you why. Even if you DM me asking for my secret database, you're not getting anything. But yet, next week, you're going to hear me saying it again. Tomorrow, I'm going to say it again. Hey, I want the evidence. Let's ignore you because you want the evidence. Let's find people that don't care for the evidence, and let's incite them to get in here. And if they start questioning things, we'll kick them out. And that's where I think this whole thing took a turn. You get me? The sick part is these groups have been that way the whole time. The ones we've looked at. There's no evolution. It's just been where it's at. The only evolution is where you had some people defending both sides, defending logic, right? Trying to conversate, trying to discuss what was going on. They're all out of it. And all that's left are the people that are calling hospitals like we had yesterday or the day before. Now, again, they didn't realize that the little kid is the one admitted to the hospital. It wasn't the mom. It wasn't Katie admitted to the hospital. So why call the hospital and complain about Katie when the little kid is, going to be treated the same way no matter if you call and complain or not? Even if Katie is Superwoman in disguise, they're still going to treat the kid. They're not going to say, oh, God, Katie makes YouTube content that you don't like. Well, we better not treat this kid at this hospital. There's nothing that could have come from calling the hospital. Yet, it happened with multiple people after the troll group discussed it, right? So the point is that criticism? Calling the was that criticism? No. So for anyone out there that tries to say it's just criticism and the criticism led to the restraining order, it didn't. These things like that did. And there are many of them that have been going back to the beginning of the story. All right. Thank you for your opinions. I love you. I'm going to the Rock-A-Lot channel. I'll be there in about... In fact, let me go ahead and schedule it because it's not scheduled. I'll just do it real quick. I already got it titled and everything. Before I go offline, I'm going to schedule it so that I can give you a link. Give me 10 seconds or so. Tonight on the Rock-A-Lot, the Great Simp War of 2020 begins. A group of people will not support the great simpery that's going on, but the Simp Lord is banding together and pulling his simp energies to influence all the simps into doing his simpy things tonight on the Rock-A-Lot channel on the Rock-A-Lot live stream hosted from UNIRock 2 at the Rock-A-Lot, we are going to talk about the Great Simp War of 2020, the first attack and subsequent acts that have made the Simp War so dangerous. We're going to describe it all to you with this link that just got posted in the live chat. Hold on. Great Simp War of 2020 Rock-A-Lot stream here in couple minutes with a link. Control A, Control C, and shoot it out there so that you know why. The great blackmailing or simp mailing rumors that have come out initiated a war between many sides that are all fighting for territory and trying to rid it of simps, while the simps are trying to overrun that territory. All will be revealed in the Rock-A-Lot stream in 20 minutes on the Rock-A-Lot channel. The Great Simp War of 2020. Rock-A-Lot live stream is scheduled. The live chat is open. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.